Yankees. First batter of the game, Carlos Rodon hits Esteury Ruiz on the foot with a slider, and first base umpire Jonathan Payne confirms that he checked his swing. Take another look. Aaron Boone arguing that Ruiz swung on the pitch. Home plate umpire Hunter Wendelstedt then has some words for Boone.
You're not yelling at me. I did what I'm supposed to do and check. I'm looking for him to get hit by the pin. You got anything else to say? You're gone.
Se puso bravo el árbitro. Ay, Dios mío. ¿Qué diría? Dijo de todo. Y votó al dirigente.
I really didn't go after Hunter. I was more upset
Ese
that, on the appeal.
La cara como una arepa, pero bien rellena.
Hard, to which I didn't respond. I just said, okay. Went down, and it's embarrassing. It really is it's embarrassing.
Has there ever been an issue with him in the past? I mean, is there some sort of bad blood between you two?
No. Go back with Harry and Hunter, and just not okay.
Do you understand it in any way? What happened?
I don't. I mean, obviously. Yeah,
Saludos, Nelson Mendy, a toda la familia Mendy. Que espero que estén bien.
Like, hey, obviously he got hit, but it was clear to me he took a swing at it too. So, and then he made his point firmly back. Hunter did, and that was it.
And here's Wendelstedt's response. Aaron Boone is the manager of the New York Yankees and is responsible for everything that happens in that dugout. He concluded, I don't want to eject a ball player. We need to keep them in the game. That's what the fans pay to see. Aaron Boone runs the Yankees. He got ejected. Well, as for the rest of the game, while Boone was getting hot, the Yankees' bats were a bit chilly. Bottom of the fourth, former Yankee J.P. Sears gets Juan Soto swinging on the 79-mile-per-hour sweeper. Next batter, Sears sets Aaron Judge down swing from 97-mile-per-hour fastball. Next batter, Sears gets Giancarlo Stanton to miss on the 86-mile-per-hour changeup. Sears would strike out 7 Yankees on the day, and Carlos Rodon doing his best to match Sears. Top of the fifth, Ryan Noda go down looking at a slider. Top of 7, Rodon strikes out Zach Geloff.
Adiós, Pampa mía. Pampa mía, bien real, Pampa mía. Recita, inofensiva.
4 strikeouts, the longest outing with the Yankees, and his first scoreless outing with the Yanks. Rodon's 7 shutout innings would leave the A's offense searching for answers. Pick this up in the top of the ninth, still scoreless. Geloff with a high fly ball to right field.
Adiós, bye-bye, Charlie. Eso no está entre nosotros. Bye-bye, Charlie.
Here gives the A's the late lead. Mason Miller looking to complete the shutout. First batter of the inning, Miller strikes out Anthony Volpe swinging at 102
Adiós, Pampa mía.
Next batter, Miller gets
Pampa mía, no la ven.
That's 103 miles.
Pampa mía.
Miller.
No le ven la pelota ese pitcher. Pampa mía, Dios. Dios, Diosito.
Over. The A's win 2-0. Yankees shut out in 4 of 8 losses this season, 3 of those coming at home. A's snapping an 8-game losing streak at Yankee Stadium. Yankees now shut out at least 3 times at home through 23 games for the 4th time in France. The Braves had their 6-game win streak snapped against the Rangers on Sunday, looking to bounce back. But first, some history. Bottom of the first, Ronald Acuna Jr. takes off and slides into second for the steal. That's 1 steal for the record book. He passes Rafi.
Qué raro que cerró una base. Fueron ayer designados por MLB los 10 hombres más poderosos de MLB, ya que no adivinan quién estaba en primer lugar. Ronald Acuña Jr., qué sorpresa.
His last 8 at-bats, the Braves go on to win 3-0. How about Jared Jones? Pirates, Brewers, Bryce Terang at the plate. And oh my goodness.
Un saludo a José Miguel.
and it brings
en
down to
Colombia,
rain.
que estaba ligando su pirata. Ahí ganaron su pirata.
He'll go on to become the fourth pitcher since 1893 to strike out at least 7 batters in each of his first
Viniendo
5 years.
desde atrás.
Wins, having to go for 7 in a row without Bryce Harper on the paternity list. Ranger Suarez on the mound, coming up a shutout performance in his last outing. Bottom of the third, Phillies up 2-0, 2 outs. Suarez gets Bubba Thompson to swing at a pitch in the dirt for the third strike.
Lo más fijo que había ayer para mí, los Phillies de Filadelfia.
Drive, caught by Suarez, great snag, 22 straight scoreless innings for Suarez. Phillies looking for some insurance on offense. Romuto hits a line drive down the third baseline. That's fair.
Buena línea pegada a la base. Ay, Dios mío.
And Schwarber, he does. Phillies up 4-0. Romuto's only hit of the game, padding the Phillies' lead. Suarez would keep his streak alive after 6, battling into the 7th. Gets Christian Encarnacion Strand to swing at a ball in the dirt for the strikeout. That's going to do it for Suarez. 25 straight scoreless innings. Longest streak by Phillies pitcher since Cliff Lee in 2011. Top 9, same score, 2 on, no outs. Cody Clemens crushes
hasta la
that
vista,
pitch
bye
deep to right
bye,
field,
Charlie.
placing Harper in the
Eso
lineup
no está
and
entre
crushes the
nosotros.
three-run dagger. Phillies up
Adiós,
7-0.
honrón de
That is
Harper,
your final.
creo que se dejaron.
Only the third time since 1995 that the Phillies have won 15 of their first 23 games to start the season. Check this out. Philly starters, 0 earned runs allowed in 5 of their last 6 starts. Hit their 7th straight win after starting the season. 8-8, tied for the longest streak in the majors this season for the team.
Majors to 16 wins. No hands. Okay, good. Because I was going to say, if you put your hand up, you're lying. Maybe part of the best record in the MLB is due to the competition they've faced so far. But Matt, they're in your top 5. How sustainable do you think this fast start is for them?
Well, part of this possible sustainability would be a very weak AL Central. And, you know, when you have a weak competition with the rest of the division, maybe they could do something like win 90 games. We've seen them do that several times in recent memory. I'm not a believer in this team. I thought they deserved to be up in the top 5 with how well they've started. And they do have some impressive series wins, such as over the Red Sox in Seattle, for example. But they also have 8 of their wins have come against 2 of the worst teams in baseball in the Oakland A's and the Chicago White Sox. I think the offense is overachieving there with Josh Naylor is a good player, but he's slugging over 600. That's not going to keep up. Jose Ramirez will start to hit, and that'll help mitigate some of the comeback from some of the other players. But if you look at the rotation right now, Shane Bieber out for the season, Tristan McKenzie, more walks than strikeouts, and his velocity's down. That's worrisome. I don't think that they have the rotation depth to be able to absorb some of the issues that are going to be coming up here in the next few weeks. I also think the schedule, Red Sox, Braves, Astros, the next 3 series, I think they're going to run into a little bit of trouble. But, hey, I could be wrong. I've been wrong about this team before.
You know, it's amazing to think they're first in the American League in runs scored, right? When you look at the Orioles and the Yankees and the Astros and the Rangers, all these great lineups, they've scored more runs than anybody. And then you kind of look up and down their lineup to say, okay, how are they scoring the runs? And really only 2 players are off to good starts. Stephen Kwan, the leadoff hitter, batting .358, creating traffic. And you got Josh Naylor with 6 homers and 20 RBIs. You know, yeah, that's impressive, but they're just scoring runs by moving the chains, smart base running, getting the sac fly when you need it, getting the ground ball, scoring the man at third with the infield playing back. They're getting it done that way. What is interesting, I talked to Chris Antonetti, the president of the Guardians, yesterday, asking him about the team and the rotation. He said, you know, the starting rotation is their biggest issue right now than anything else because they're sitting there with 3/5 of their rotation with ERAs of 4.4 or higher. That's Logan Allen, that's Tanner Bybee, and that's Tristan McKenzie. And so they're concerned about that. So you look at them and you go, well, how in the world with 3 guys in the rotation, that high of an ERA, how are they 4th in the league in ERA? And then you get to the crux of why they are where they are, besides the schedule, winning half your games against the White Sox and A's, but it's the bullpen. And Emmanuel Clase has 6 saves and an 0.82 ERA. Hunter Gaddis has pitched in 11 games so far, has not given up a run. Not a single run. Nick Sandlin has a 1.69 ERA after 12 appearances. Tim Herron, an 0.79 ERA after 11. So this bullpen has just been so good and so deep. but I am in the same opinion without a doubt as Matt.
And this is as the preseason favorite to win the division. So, Matt, where do you have them on the panic meter?
Still pretty low. I will move it up to about a 2 in the this is fine range. Maybe it's that meme where the guy is sitting in the middle of the fires and says this is fine because everything's caught on fire around him. Look, the record's obviously awful, and being 5 games back in the division is not even remotely ideal as we get toward the end of April, but it's not like they're like 9 or 10 out. 5's workable. Alex Bregman's been bad. The back end of the bullpen, Josh Hader and Ryan Presley has been a disaster. You would expect those guys to all get things fixed. In the rotation, J.P. France and Hunter Brown have awful numbers. They should be better than this, and there is help on the way in the rotation. Justin Verlander just came back. They're going to get other guys throughout the rest of the season, trickling back in from the injured list, such as Framber Valdez when he comes back. Jose Abreu has been absolutely brutal. We don't know if he might be in his age-related decline as it started last year, but I still think that they're better than this. One thing that I latched onto is their clutch hitting stats are atrocious right now. Runners in scoring position with 2 outs are hitting 236 with a 587 OPS. Late and close situations, 239 with a 554 OPS. I don't think that is predictive. That is to say that just because they've been bad so far at that, it doesn't mean that they're going to be bad the rest of the season. I think things will start to turn around there. And when it does, and Presley and Hader get things fixed, they'll stop losing games in the late innings and they'll get back on track.
All right, we're keeping the panic meter out for the Astros, who are 7-16, bottom of the AL West. And this is as the preseason favorite to win the division. So, Matt, where do you have them on the panic meter?
Still pretty low. I will move it up to about a 2 in the this is fine range. Maybe it's that meme where the guy is sitting in the middle of the fires and says this is fine because everything's caught on fire around him. Look, the record's obviously awful, and being 5 games back in the division is not even remotely ideal as we get toward the end of April, but it's not like they're like 9 or 10 out. 5's workable. Alex Bregman's been bad. The back end of the bullpen, Josh Hader and Ryan Presley has been a disaster. You would expect those guys to all get things fixed. In the rotation, J.P. France and Hunter Brown have awful numbers. They should be better than this, and there is help on the way in the rotation. Justin Verlander just came back. They're going to get other guys throughout the rest of the season, trickling back in from the injured list, such as Framber Valdez when he comes back. Jose Abreu has been absolutely brutal. We don't know if he might be in his age-related decline as it started last year, but I still think that they're better than this. One thing that I latched onto is their clutch hitting stats are atrocious right now. Runners in scoring position with 2 outs are hitting 236 with a 587 OPS. Late and close situations, 239 with a 554 OPS. I don't think that is predictive. That is to say that just because they've been bad so far at that, it doesn't mean that they're going to be bad the rest of the season. I think things will start to turn around there. And when it does, and Presley and Hader get things fixed, they'll stop losing games in the late innings and they'll get back on track.
Another preseason division favorite in a slump is the Minnesota Twins. Matt, you have them all the way down to 23. What's the most disappointing part of their start to the season?
The offense, it's absolutely brutal. They're hitting 195 with a 281 on base, 329 slugging. Royce Lewis got hurt on opening day. Carlos Correa's hurt now. Byron Buxton's been terrible. It's worrisome right now with how bad their offense is.
And I'm really worried about the starting rotation as well. Outside of Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan, more questions than answers. And Bailey Ober's got an ERA of 4.9. Lewis Varland has an ERA of 9.1, and Chris Paddock an ERA of 8.3. So I think they have problems and issues right now on both sides of the ball.
All right, Jim Bowden, Matt Snyder, thanks so much. And here's a look at some of tonight's most notable games. We got the AL Central leading Brewers at the Pirates. Ranger Suarez and Hunter Green throwing for the Phillies and Reds, and a close one expected between the Diamondbacks and Cards. We'll have all those highlights on HQ later today. While the Orioles, Phillies, and Guardians jump into the top 5, the Blue Jays also making a big leap into the top 10. For the full breakdown, head over to cbssports.com/MLB. Matt Snyder and Jim Bowden here with me now to break down this young baseball season. And Matt, I'll start with you and the Orioles. They jumped to number 2 in your power rankings after winning 6 of their last 7 games. Why are you so high on the Birds?
Oh, I mean, I was going into the year. I had them in the World Series this year. So it's interesting. They're 14-7 right now. And I don't even feel like they've really been firing on all cylinders. Yes, they have 6 players with at least 5 home runs right now, but Adley Rutschman hasn't gotten hot yet. Jackson Holliday just came up, and he's been brutal, maybe historically bad to start his career. I'm not worried about either one of those guys. No, I'm really not worried about Jackson Holliday. But, I mean, you Colton Cowser, Jordan Westbrook, Ryan Mountcastle, those are more depth guys for this offense, and they've been unbelievable so far. And I do think that they're going to get better because in the rotation, they haven't had Kyle Bradish. They haven't had John Means. Bradish made his 2nd rehab start on Sunday. A little bit of a mixed bag there, but that's not important right now. He's just working his way back. They're going to get better. And again, they've won 2/3 of their games, and I just don't think that they're fully hit their stride yet. So, yeah, I love them at the number 2 spot.
Yeah, there's no doubt they have one of the best offenses in the American League. And Gunnar Henderson, who was Rookie of the Year last year in the American League, off to a fast start with 6 homers and 15 RBIs. And speaking of Rookie of the Year, right now, Colton Cowser has to be the front runner for Rookie of the Year this year with his 5 homers and 16 RBIs out of the gate. Cedric Mullins looks like he could be a comeback Player of the Year candidate. He's on pace for 30 homers and 30 steals, which would be the 2nd time in his career that he was able to do that. And Jordan Westberg at third base has been one of the more productive offensive third basemen in baseball. 5 homers and 18 RBIs to start the season. You know, Matt mentioned the historically bad start to the number 1 prospect in baseball on Jackson Holliday. Just 1 for 30 out of the gate. I talked to Mike Elias, the general manager of the Orioles, yesterday. I asked him if he was concerned. I asked him how long a leash he would have. And, you know, he responded. He said, look, if you remember last year, Gunnar Henderson got off to a really slow start. Everybody was yelling at him to send him out. Well, he didn't send him out. He kept him, and he won Rookie of the Year. They think Holliday is going to be okay. But look, if he doesn't get going in the next couple of weeks, there's nothing wrong with sending him out, getting him straight at the minor leagues, and bringing him back later. And speaking of that, Mike Elias reminded me about 2 of his other young prospects that are tearing it up at AAA. Obi Mayo hitting .344 with 7 homers and 19 RBIs, and Heston Kjerstad hitting .349 with 10 homers and 30 RBIs. They've combined for 17 home runs already for Norfolk. Unbelievable. So they've got more guys ready to come up whenever they need them. And as Matt mentioned, Kyle Bradish only needs 1 or 2 more rehab starts. Mike Elias telling me that his elbow feels great, that the PRP injection worked. It was a success. He said the velocity is the same as it was last year when he was their best starting pitcher, and they're really optimistic that he's going to impact the Orioles once he gets up here in a couple of starts. So pretty exciting start for the Baltimore Orioles.
Okay, so a good team should get better. The Phillies the season. Nice change for a team that needed until late June last season to get 6 games over 500. Matt, they jump into your top 5 after an undefeated week. What do you like about them?
Well, yeah, they're ahead of schedule. As you mentioned, they've been a slow starting team here in these last couple of years of contention. They started 2-4 this year, but they have not lost a series since. Now, I know this last week they beat up on the road Rockies, who are brutal. They beat up on the White Sox, who are historically bad, but good teams take care of business, and the Phillies didn't lose any. It wasn't like they were just taking 2 of 3 in each of those series. They didn't lose at all. Starting pitching's been amazing. One thing I like to see is in this day and age where starters are going fewer and fewer innings, and obviously it makes sense why, because of all these injuries, but there have only been 13 games in this entire season where a starting pitcher got at least 1 out in the 8th inning. That is 7 1/3 innings or more. And 5 of those happened for the Phillies in this last week. Aaron Nola did it twice. Ranger Suarez did it. Zach Wheeler did it. Spencer Turnbull. Look, they're getting unbelievable work from the rotation right now that takes pressure off the bullpen. And the offense is still 9th in the National League in runs scored. They're better than that. They're going to start hitting. I love where they are right now in the season.
And one of the big differences between last year and this year is, if you remember, Trey Turner really didn't get started hitting-wise until August. Well, he's off to a fabulous start, batting .348, has stolen 5 bases right out of the gate. So that's been huge. He looks like he'll be an MVP candidate. And two of their young players who are in their prime years looking like they might have breakout seasons, Brandon Marsh and Alec Bohm, have combined for 8 home runs already here in early April. And as Matt said, you've got 5 starters that are keeping in games. We expected Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, for the amount of money they're being paid, we expected them to be aces and pitch well. But Spencer Turnbull, 2-0 with a 1.23 ERA. Ranger Suarez, who pitches tonight, he's 3-0 with a 1.7 ERA. And then you've got Christopher Sanchez, who's put up a 2.53 ERA over 4 starts. So all 5 starters, keeping them in games. And as Matt said, once the rest of this lineup start hitting, watch out. This team is going to be a playoff team. Whether they catch the Braves or make it to a wild card berth, they are going to be playing in October.
Another surprise to start the season, the Dodgers going 3-6 in their recent homestand. Now, Matt and I faded their wins total over on the early edge, so I'm okay with this start. But Jim, where do you have them on the panic meter? Because this is supposed to be one of the best teams ever.
Well, I'm a little worried. Let me start with this. I'm not worried about the offense, right? Mookie Betts is hitting .355 with 6 homers. He'll be an MVP candidate all year. Shohei Ohtani's hitting an amazing .368 with 5 homers. He'll be an MVP candidate all year. Freddie Freeman will start hitting. He hasn't really until this weekend. Teoscar Hernandez will hit his 25 homers. Max Muncy will hit his 25 homers. The bottom third of the lineup will hit better. So they're going to have to outslug people. They're going to have to outscore people. The lineup is elite. There's no doubt. I'm not worried about scoring runs. But here is why I'm a little bit worried. I'm worried about the starting pitching after Tyler Glasnow. Now, Glasnow's pitched like an ace. He's 4-1 with a 2.9 ERA. But after that, I got more questions than I do answers. Yamamoto has struggled with his fastball. Maybe he's adjusting to the new size of the baseball and the new culture. But that fastball gets hit so far out of the gate. James Paxton's up to a decent start, but he doesn't have a history of pitching well into the season. So a lot of people are pointing at the Dodgers and saying, well, look at all the pitchers coming off the IL. Walker Buehler's supposed to come off soon. And then Clayton Kershaw and Bobby Miller and Tony Gonsolin. But let's talk about them for a minute, okay? Walker Buehler can't throw strikes. And he was supposed to come back from Tommy John last September, and he didn't. He was supposed to be there in spring training. He wasn't. He's supposed to be there now, and he isn't. He's on rehab, and his last outing, he walked 4 guys. And he's missing the glove by like a foot. That's a concern. I don't know when Clayton Kershaw is going to come back with a shoulder, and I don't know what he's going to look like when he does come back. I'm worried about Bobby Miller's shoulder. We're not going to see Tony Gonsolin all year, and I don't know when we're going to see Dustin May, and Gavin Stone has an ERA of 6. So all of us who thought the Dodgers were going to run away with this division and win their 100-plus games, all of a sudden you look at the starting pitching, and you've got to be a little bit worried.